Here we go. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on, guys!
In today's age, it might be difficult to think of Ultimate Fighting Championship, or even mixed martial arts in general, as a very niche concept. However, there was a time period where such competition was considered to be very underground. UFC found itself with its debut video game on the SEGA Dreamcast August 29, 2000, developed by Anchor and published by Crave in the United States. I've only dabbled into watching MMA, so I can't claim to be an expert on the matter, but I do know enough to find this UFC game release to be fascinating. The sport of mixed martial arts has, for a while, been based around fighters training themselves in multiple disciplines to make them well-rounded fighters, with striking on their feet, but also being able to grapple and clinch, while also being able to wrestle for position and fight while on the ground. However, the UFC founded itself in 1993 under the concept of the Dream Match. If you put boxers, kickboxers, Olympic wrestlers, jiu-jitsu practitioners, submission fighters, sumo wrestlers, and more into a single tournament, who would prove to be fighting under the ultimate discipline? I don't know what kind of lead time the developers would have been working with going into the development of Ultimate Fighting Championship, but its release date drops it in a time frame when a lot of the regulations we're accustomed to today in the sport were, in the grand scheme of things, quite fresh for the UFC organization. The UFC caught a lot of backlash for its overall lack of rules and regulations when it launched, and this slowly evolved the organization over time. The launch of the game roughly places it leading into UFC's 27th event, when elements such as loose weight classes, 5-minute rounds, and judging with a 10-point must system were eventually being rolled into the competitions. However, the UFC video game still released at a time where the competitors' attire wasn't strictly regulated, still allowing for them to wear a gi, for example. And the video game still has representation of the tournaments held at early UFC events, where competitors were fighting multiple times in one night. So what I love about this video game is that it contains a lot of familiar elements, while still keeping a couple of the elements of the early UFC events. A lot of the further regulations that made UFC more closely resemble its current-day sport and keep the fighters safer seemed to happen relatively soon after this video game was released on the Dreamcast. It was actually a review on IGN at the time that made me interested in picking up the UFC video game back in 2000. The reviewer praised the game for going a step beyond a traditional fighting game in implementing the grappling mechanics that can swing the momentum of a fight in an instant. When you look at the basics, UFC features a left punch, left kick, and right kick button set, and you can grapple by pressing both buttons on the left side or right side. That makes it sound like Tekken, right? There's definitely a share of inputs you can chain together for strike combos, but UFC keeps this a little more grounded in reality. Then, once you mix in the grappling, reversing, and fighting in different positions, UFC really starts to feel like its own video game. I'd owned this game for nearly 23 years, and I don't know what it was, but when I hooked up my Dreamcast back in June to work on my Feet of Fury features, I came across UFC on my shelf. I'd always liked the game, but for whatever reason, I never did a really deep dive into the game outside of doing some exhibition matches for fun. This game offers a very simplistic career mode, which really boils down to doing a series of fights so you can level up a created character and get them ready for the tournament and title defense modes. This playthrough was really fun, leading to some really exciting and close battles. Man, I'm gonna get gassed and he's gonna knock me out. Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have
It's gonna come down to the judges. What do we got? What's this? Double knockout, we hug it out. That's awesome. God. UFC prided itself on featuring more realistic fighting compared to other games in the genre at the time, and the developers seemed to really take pride in rooting their game in reality. So that's why I was completely thrown off guard that the final fight in UFC's career mode pits you against a full-blown Tekken character that disregards all of the rules the other fighters have to follow. McCarthy Jr. Based on real-life UFC referee Big John McCarthy, is given every unfair advantage you can possibly be given in this video game. Let's see if we... Oh, we cannot get the jump on him. did he just do? He just did a dragon punch. I want to play as this guy. Oh my god. He is a Tekken character. Oh, I couldn't do for grab. How do you fight this guy? You spend up to 30 fights being taught to play one fighting game, and then fight number 31, an SNK level boss suddenly appears, and then UFC becomes a completely different fighting game. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I might not be able to do it tonight, but I'm invested now in it. What does he do? Okay. I thought he was gonna suplex me, so I was like getting ready. Like I didn't know he was doing a guillotine choke.
For the winner, player.
I've become accustomed to this guy being able to do like all sorts of crazy things. Like I said, I was waiting for a suplex or like maybe even a power bomb or something ridiculous. Brainbuster. Jumping brainbuster.
Here we go, gentlemen. Are you ready?
McCarthy Jr. even throws this in your face, being granted rapid-fire punches, Paul Phoenix lunge punches, a Craig Marduk lunging grapple, and this jerk even gets a legit Shoryuken so he can flex and embarrass you down to your core. McCarthy Jr. also essentially input reads and is able to counter and ward off virtually any grapple input you try to pull off. When it comes to grappling, you kind of have to throw out reversal catches and cross your fingers that it works. But because McCarthy Jr. is so fast, it's hard to react and be able to catch his attacks, so you have to go borderline psychic and feel out his attack rhythms so you can put these reversal attempts out at one step ahead of the action. When you're trained to understand a video game operates a certain way, this fight comes out of nowhere and it can absolutely crush your soul. But I thought this fight was absolutely awesome. Never in a million years did I think I would get to the end of this game and be confronted by this absolute legend of a fighter. It's been 2 full months and myself and a couple of my stream viewers are still talking about McCarthy Jr.
Alright, here we go, gentlemen.
Last character of UFC, totally winning this create a character mode. Let's do this. He just ran. He's going for it right away. Again, I swear I hit my counter there. Yeah, I don't think so. Get him. Okay, here we go. Roll over. Take him. Get him. Nope. Ooh, we switched it up. Okay. Go. Okay. That was the most amazing fight. I did it.
For the winner, Golden Boy.
There's our reward, 15 whole skill points. What is... What the hell was that all about? If you're into fighting game challenges, I would definitely recommend adding this one to your list. If anything, it will get more people playing what I think is a very overlooked fighting game. I always thought Anchor did a pretty good job taking a concept that is rooted in realism, but still walking that fine line to introduce enough video game and fighting game elements to make the gameplay snappy and fun. Fights can end very quickly, and this is one of those perfect games you can play with a crowd and be passing the controller around. The basics are simple enough for people outside of the fighting game crowd to understand, and even the most basic of moves can be crowd-pleasing due to the presentation and crunchy sound design. When you dig into the other game modes, you'll be able to unlock the referee style of fighting. While this style gives the player some satisfying and outside-the-box moves to use in the octagon, you don't get the absurd stats and the craziest moves at McCarthy Jr.'s disposal. I would dare say Bruce Buffer's Jeet Kune Do style is even more fun to use. But let's take a moment to give McCarthy Jr. his due. I'm hereby making him the inaugural induction in the Gamubaka Fighting Game Character Hall of Fame. He really made me put in the work to defeat him, and this game gave me one of the more memorable fighting game fights I've had in recent times. Congratulations, McCarthy Jr. Let's see if we can win a tournament. Tail of the tape. Case freestyle. I'm 55 years old? How did that happen? As a brief bonus to cap off this video, I thought I would share something else we discovered on that stream of Ultimate Fighting Championship. The internal calendar of the SEGA Dreamcast actually affects the ages of the fighters. If I set the Dreamcast calendar to the date this game was released, August 29th, 2000, the fighters have the ages they were when the UFC game launched. However, if I set it for a more current date, their ages are adjusted to reflect that change in time.
All right, here we go, gentlemen. Are you ready? Are you ready? Well, let's get it on!